Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Redberryweo here, and welcome back to another Civil Air Patrol video. In today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience trying to engage and empower senior members within the program. Now, I'm not saying that everything I'm doing is 100% effective. They're just some of the tools that I have used to try to engage senior members and get them invested into the program. So I'm going to talk about some of the tips and tricks I do, and if you want to take any of those, please feel free to use them. And if you have any additional ideas, then please feel free to include those in the comments down below. I'd love to hear some of your ideas. If you don't hear your idea included in this video, or if you found something that has worked for your program, then feel free to share. If you don't, that's cool too. But in this community, we work together and we support each other. So that's why I ask, if you do have any suggestions, just please feel free to include them in the comments down below. So one of the first things that I do with senior members when they first join is have that first talk discussion with them. And the first talk is supposed to serve as kind of like setting the stage for that new member that's coming into the program. And I will link in the iCard a video that I did do on the first talk. Like, you do need to have a discussion with the member before they join, and that's typically done with a membership board. It's highly recommended that you have a membership board for senior members, where you've got like 2 senior members who are serving on that board. That it could be any 2 senior members who are part of that membership board, but they are assigned. And then taking the time to have that discussion with that prospective senior member, seeing why they're joining, getting a good gauge of what their interests are, and then in that first talk discussion, it follows up a little bit on those things and includes maybe considering assigning them to specialty tracks, maybe even putting them into duty positions as assistants to someone. And something that I have noticed with some units is that as soon as a brand new member comes in, the unit's like, okay, so there are a lot of roles that we want filled, and we're going to need to figure out what we want this person to do. And not always taking under consideration that they don't have CAP experience yet, and we want to make sure that that person is interested in what they're doing. So if you don't have an active finance officer, like you've got someone assigned, but you want a brand new senior member to do that role, well, maybe look at adjusting your structure just a little bit, seeing who is currently on the team that might be able to fill in that role as the primary rather than that person who may be less active, and make sure that your unit is meeting those requirements with finance and the whole budget and everything, and setting up finance committee meetings, all of that. And then if there's a new member who is joining, ask them, are you interested in potentially being mentored in this or this, and those roles that are available? But putting someone into that position as a primary when they don't have any CAP experience yet is kind of like throwing them into the deep end. They might feel overwhelmed, they might be unclear on what the expectations are, and that can lead to them just feeling overwhelmed and not really wanting to be involved with the program. So putting someone into an assistant role and then having the experienced people serve as the primaries can help mentor them into that program and eventually take over as a primary. Now, if you do not have a lot of senior members, then it's possible that you might need them to serve in that primary position if they're interested. But make sure you set up the expectations with them. Like if you're a deputy commander for seniors, or if you're the unit commander, have an honest discussion with that person saying, okay, so here's that specialty track guide. Here are the different documents that we will be working on together, because it should be a team and collaborative effort from what I've seen. Like if someone is brand new and they have no idea what they're doing for aerospace education as like the primary AEO, they don't know how to order STEM kits. They may not even know that STEM kits exist. They may not know of Cyber Patriot or Stellar Explorers and how to start teams off in those areas. They may not understand what an activity plan is versus the annual report. So as a unit commander or as a deputy commander, really helping mentor that person into that role, you will learn some of their responsibilities if you don't know them already. And then that also increases your unit's overall effectiveness, because you not only understand the role, but people who are being taught into that role will be able to have that continuity, put together documentation, and really support the unit long term feeling like they are empowered and they understand what they're doing because they have worked together as a team. Another tool I've used for engaging senior members is having one-on-one discussions with them on a pretty frequent basis. Now, my unit isn't as large as some out there. Some of them have like 100 senior members. My unit is not that big. But if there were a larger unit, then there could always be a mentorship system established. One of the challenges that some newer senior members have is that they just don't feel like they really know anyone, or they don't feel like they are establishing relationships and connections with other members. They're just sort of there, and they are doing their job, and then they go home. And there isn't as much of an interconnectedness with some of the other members. So by having those one-on-one discussions, I'm giving them individual consideration. And if you have a larger unit, then having that mentor available and having frequent check-ins with them can help establish an individual connection that they can look forward to interacting with. Because, like, you don't want to be alone when you're participating in CAP activities. There are so many great people in CAP, and if we don't take that initiative to really reach out and kind of bring them into those conversations, then they may feel less interested in being involved. When I have those one-on-one meetings, I type them up into a spreadsheet and I keep track of their goals. So if they say at the end of March, I'm going to have my communications technician rating done, then I'll be like, okay, and I will check in with them like maybe halfway through the month saying, okay, so you said your goal was to complete this by this time. Is there anything that I can help you with to help support you towards accomplishing that goal? Maybe that's providing resources. Like for communications, you're required to do some kind of comms net for like an 8-hour period or something approved by the wing comms officer as meeting the requirement of a controlled net. So maybe sharing that information with that member of saying, here are the different comm activities that are coming up soon, and if you're available, then I highly recommend you attend one of those. And sometimes the person may not be available, that's fine, but making sure that they feel like they're working towards something in the organization helps people feel more involved with it as well. There are times where I've heard from other senior members where they feel this internal frustration that it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I came into the program and no one told me what to do, and now I don't know how to further my progress. I don't know what steps I need to take, and no one is there to show me the way. And that's why I've been trying to make a few different videos associated with specialty tracks. There will be a few more coming out soon as of recording this video, and it being posted, there will be a few different specialty track technician rating videos, and I do already have one out for the Aerospace Education Officer Technician Rating track, and you can check that out in the iCard. But it's good to provide your people with resources. And if your unit has like a specific library of like PowerPoint presentations that you've used in the past, then that's a great resource for someone to become familiar with what your unit does. I'm not saying that as a unit commander or as a deputy commander, you need to know everything about every specialty track. That's just not a fair expectation of someone in leadership. But having people on your command team from varying backgrounds with different experiences can be very useful. For example, a unit commander may not have experience with operations, but if their deputy does, and let's say that deputy has 4 or 5 years of experience in operations and understanding how aircraft maintenance works and the whole scheduling system in Wimmers, then they are a great asset for that unit commander to work with to help ensure that the people in their unit are receiving additional aircrew training and the cadets are getting in the airplanes for their orientation rides within a very short time of them joining, because they really should be flying as soon as possible, and just working actively between the group level and the unit level to promote those different opportunities being involved with the operations side. The last thing I will say is that people in general, not just cadets, like to do hands-on activities. And I've been given that feedback so many times from senior members where they're like, I wish this was a hands-on activity. So if there's ever an opportunity to have some kind of collaborative, hands-on activity that your senior members can be involved with, they're gonna love the meeting so much more than PowerPoint presentations. There's nothing wrong with PowerPoint presentations, and there is some merit to using them, or it could be a guide to whatever activity you're doing. But if you just do like PowerPoint lectures or just story time where you're telling each other stories from like the encampment in 2010 and the NCSA that I attended in 1986. I mean, it's great to share your experiences, and sometimes that experience is applicable to what they'll be doing, but the use of anecdotes should be used in a constructive manner that inspires members to be more involved or teaches them concepts that they may not entirely understand, and all of these different opportunities to blend what you have to share in stories while maintaining a productive, positive learning environment. So for me, when I do the structure for senior member meetings, I do try to balance out the time that I give them to work on their own personal CAP work versus us working together as a team and having discussions and making sure that everyone is on the same page for different collaborative efforts. So for example, I might have a 45-minute block where I talk about aircrew training. We're currently trying to get quite a few of our senior members into planes, and we want to do some mission scanner, F&P, and review. I could do like a great document where each of us discuss different best practices that we've learned and then look over the different tasks and see how each of those best practices align with those different tasks that are associated with F&P. And if someone is brand new and has not done mission scanner stuff, they're learning from the other experiences that people are sharing. But at the same time, it's a good review for those people who are currently proficient or are currently qualified in Mission Scanner, and it gives them a chance to jog their memories or really get back into the process of thinking as a Mission Scanner and the different things that they need to keep in mind when they're like in the airplane or if you're doing pre-flight and stuff that's associated with safety while flying in an aircraft. And then when we are not doing those team discussions and like the short lessons that we do have, I provide that as office hours time / like work time. And the reason why I do that is because Civil Air Patrol is made up of volunteers, and each week they are setting aside like a 2.5 hour, 2 hour period for Civil Air Patrol. And since they are volunteers, I want them to feel like they're being productive with their time during the meetings. So if there are specific things they want to get done, like taking their Jaeger test or completing some of the online modules for level 2 part 1 or level 2 part 2, whatever it may be, I try to give them at least an hour every other week so that they can focus in on some of the stuff that they want to work on that is CAP related. I can't prescribe and be like, yes, now you are immediately doing all of the things that you need to do for CAP, because well, right now we're meeting virtually, so I can't watch over their shoulder and see what they're doing. But even when we go to in-person, my plan is to continue to do office hours where I am a resource and I ask all of the senior members to bring some kind of device where they can work on their stuff. And if they have questions or if they're planning some kind of activity, I'm there for them. And they feel like they can work on what they need to and accomplish what they need to without having to go too much outside of those meeting hours. Now, that's not something that you're required to do. I just know that from my experience, I've always spent a lot of time on CAP stuff. Like I've been voluntarily making these videos for YouTube and providing resources to people across the internet. Because when I was younger, I always wished that there were resources for me to learn stuff. And I was like, why aren't there more Civil Air Patrol resources on the internet? Why aren't there more videos? So I am willing to spend a lot of time, but I don't want members to feel like they have to put in a ton of extra time outside of those meeting hours just to be an active member. So they might work on that aerospace education annual plan that I mentioned earlier, or they might even be working towards their technician rating in one of the specialty tracks. And as a professional development officer, I can sign them off on stuff and I can say, yes, you've completed all of your requirements. And that's something that I really try to key in on. Like, who has completed what requirements for their different specialty tracks and what steps do they still need to take in order to successfully complete those. And I do remind them, like, hey, you were assigned a year ago to this specialty track for professional development. Do you want to have a quick discussion sometime in the near future so we can sign you off for your technician and make sure that you've got everything done? And if you haven't, then we'll just chat about that before that discussion. For me, I try to invest time into our senior members because they are truly a valuable asset, and each of them has their own fantastic experiences that they have to bring to the team. And if they don't feel appreciated, if they don't feel empowered and have that individual consideration, then they can start to lose interest and just not be part of the unit anymore. So I hope that this video was useful for you, whether you are an experienced senior member or brand new, or if you're a cadet. I'm not sure if you're a cadet watching this, then I don't know if this will be useful for you just yet, but I do hope that you consider some of the things that I suggested in the video, and if you do have ideas for other things to really help engage senior members, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and that is all, folks. Until next time, toodles.